could not be started.
Sorry, Amit sir, actually the recording was not just interrupted. So yeah, I will again start. Sorry for that. Okay, I feel honored to introduce today's expert top speaker, Dr. Amit Mahesh Joshi. He completed his MTech and PhD from NIT Surat in 2009 and 2015 respectively. He is currently an assistant professor at MNIT Jaipur since July 2013. His area of specialization is biomedical signal processing, smart healthcare, VLSI DSP systems, and embedded system design. He is a senior member of IEEE, a member of IETE, and member of IEEE. He has published 90 plus research articles in excellent peer-reviewed international journals, conferences, and 6 book chapters. He has a total of 1057 Google Scholar citations, I10 Index 13, S10 Index 17. He served as a reviewer of technical journals such as IEEE Transactions, IEEE Access, Springer, and Elsevier. Also, he served as a technical program committee member of IEEE conferences like ISCS, ICCE, ISVLSI, and VDAD. He also received the honor of a UGC Travel Fellowship, SOP DST Travel Grant Award, and a CSR Fellowship. Also, he attended well-known IEEE conferences like 10Con 16, 10Con 17, ISCAS 18, Menacom 19, etc. worldwide. He has also served as a mentor for IEEE Engineering in Medicine and Biology Society Student Mentorship Program 2021. He has supervised 3 PhD theses and 1 more research scholar have submitted their thesis. He has also supervised 23 MTech projects and 17 BTech projects in biomedical signal processing and VLSI embedded system. So I request sir to just share his slide and start his presentation. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ayaskanta sir, for introducing me. I'm just sharing my screen. I hope okay. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll make it full screen and we'll start. Okay, fine.
Okay. Okay, just Ayaskanta sir, just possibly my means internet may be unstable. So any point of time you feel that my voice is breaking, then I can turn off my video. Okay. Because there is some issue that we are facing at our campus from past few days regarding the internet, but I think that it should work. Okay, but if you feel that my voice is breaking at any point of time, so just to utilize the bandwidth more efficiently, I can turn off my video. Okay. So good morning, all of you. So I believe that today is your 4th day of basically the FDP. So basically I will be talking about the IoT in a healthcare. I will talk about some of the case study of the healthcare application where personally I am also working, and I will just let you know that how you can utilize your means concept with the help of IoT in your application. So basically I will talk about first the role of IoT, which actually plays a very significant role when we move towards the traditional healthcare system to the smart healthcare system. Then we will talk about some of the smart healthcare component where IoT will play a very important role like M health, C health, and E health. Then I will talk about some of the application which I am working along with my research group. So that is basically glucometer, then upper limb prosthetic control, and then mental disorder, where I have used the IoT extensively. Then I will talk about some of the smart healthcare application where with the help of the IoT, we can actually deal the situation of the pandemic like what we have currently in a COVID. Then we will talk about emerging smart healthcare technology where means more and more focus would be there in next few years. And then finally, I will talk about the challenges that we have currently in order to adopt in our daily life. So when we talk about this healthcare system, okay, then specifically when I consider our traditional healthcare system, when in a traditional healthcare system, whenever a person is being admitted in an ICU, then that particular patient is require full attention. Okay. So ideally there has to be one caretaker with him 24/7. And possibly in the absence of that healthcare support staff, it could lead to a loss of life of that particular person. Now, when I talk about our traditional healthcare system, then there are lots of stakeholders. Okay, like if I'm not feeling well, then possibly I need to consult a doctor. Doctor will give me some sort of prescription. Maybe I need to go to a test where I need to visit a laboratory, and then I should collect the test report. Then possibly after seeing the test report, doctor will prescribe some medicine. I need to purchase those medicine. Possibly in some of the cases that the insurance claim company is also coming into the picture. So when I talk about the all the ecosystem of our healthcare system where it is in decentralized manner, okay, there is not much interaction among the stakeholder. So what is the important thing is that in a smart healthcare, the first thing is there has to be easy exchange of the information among the stakeholder, and IoT will play a very crucial role over there. Now, when I talk about the IoT, then possibly it means many of you know the basic concept of the IoT. But what we want that where we have a things which we consider in a basically healthcare domain, some sort of sensors which deploy maybe on the body or outside the body, which capture the vital parameter for a particular patient. So that data will be collected, and from that data there will be some intelligent decision will be taken, and that actually help us to take a preventive action. So basically when we talk about a smart healthcare system, then we are not talking about the only intelligently diagnosis a particular disease, but also there has to be some automatic mechanism through which we can take a preventive action. Okay, so basically this is very useful when we talk about a chronic disease. Okay, so chronic disease like diabetes, cancer. So these are the diseases which actually develop inside our body over a period of time. Okay, it is not a acute event. Okay, so for them you need to have a continuous monitoring. Okay, now possibly in our traditional lifestyle we all are very busy. Okay, means even means we are very rarely we go for our body checkup, maybe once in a 6 month. Okay, so now the important thing is there are some sort of variable devices are available, like smart watches are available, which actually help us to continuously monitoring my health. Okay, so of course this kind of device will help you to capture the data. Maybe they can store the data at the cloud, but ultimately there has to be some preventive action that has to be generated out of the data which is being generated by this particular sensor. So when I talk about the smart sensor, okay, where IoT play a very important role, IoT along with the AI would actually help us to go for a smart healthcare system. So when I talk about the smart healthcare system, then that actually help us into continuous health monitoring. As I said that I want to perform my daily activity. Okay, without hampering my single activity of my day. I want to capture a vital parameter of my body. It also help to in some sort of healthcare automation. That means whatever the data which is being captured by variable devices, okay, out of those data, that data mining or some sort of intelligent algorithm will derive some information, and through which it will give me some sort of alert message, warning message in case there is a critical condition arises. It also help in a drug delivery mechanism system. Okay, so there has to be some way that if that critical system is arrived, then there has to be some primary healthcare services could be supported by this smart healthcare system. And of course it will help you to have a preventive healthcare system. And as I said that possibly for a chronic disease, as early you can diagnose the disease, then the more better way you can cure it. Like a diabetes also, if you are being diagnosed at the early stage, then diabetes reversal plans are available through which you can do it. And even in a cancer also, if you are at early stage, then possibly means you can take a better preventive action to cure from it. Now, when we talk about a IoT in a healthcare domain or a medical domain, then this actually term as a Internet of medical thing or medical Internet of thing. Okay, so that is a terminology that is being used very frequently in a literature. So that is also being termed as a IOMT or MIoT. Okay, so that is nothing but when I use IoT in a healthcare domain. So with the help of the IoT, I can collect the data, I can analyze the data, and I can transmit the data at a remote location. Okay, so it is something like that some of them having a elderly parent at their home, then they can also monitor from a office space or wherever there are. They can monitor the continuously the condition of their parents from a remote location. Okay, so where IoT will play a very important role, and it play in fact a major role for transferring the healthcare to the smart healthcare, because ultimately from there the data is being captured and you are transmitting at a remote location. Now at the remote location, it could be a doctor also. The doctor will actually help you to take some sort of preventive action, or it can provide the medication timely. So it is very useful, as I said, that for some of the chronic disease for tracking and prevention, because for them it is very vital to actually diagnosis at an early time. Now I will talk about some of the component of the smart healthcare where actually the IoT is playing a very crucial role. Now these are the components that I am talking about is basically M health, C health and E health. Okay. So when I talk about S health is nothing but the short name of the smart health that people are using. Okay. So when we talk about a smart healthcare, then smart healthcare will actually help a doctor and patient are connect with each other at the remotely. So it was actually very crucial at the time of the pandemic there where there was a sudden lockdown and people are stuck at their home. But some of the adult people, they require their frequent visit to a doctor. Okay. So at that time means it was actually very demanded that there has to be some way through which they can connect with the doctor. So possibly now the technology, whatever we have adapted in the past 2 years, now we are getting a confidence. Like possibly we never know before COVID that we could have a now a FDP or conferences in a hybrid mode. Okay, possibly it means people are not agreeing to connect remotely to any particular such kind of event. But now with the adoption of such kind of technology, our confidence has increased, and that being actually reflected in the healthcare domain also. So now doctors are also ready to give a e-prescription remotely to a patient. So of course, the smart healthcare will help you to have a continuous monitoring for a critical condition of a patient. It could actually help to take a correctively action at a proper time and to provide the quality of the care service with the proper diagnosis. With the smart healthcare, you can actually access the real-time data, okay, of a patient. That is, it is as good as you are virtually being present over there and you are monitoring the condition of that particular patient. So the point of care service and a medication through a smart healthcare control consumer devices has been effectively in place right now. Now, when we talk about an important component of the healthcare, which is the e-health, where basically through a internet or so through some sort of ICT technology, we can actually connect at remotely. Now, this information could be provided to a health professor and maybe a caretaker who actually in a position to take the corrective action to prevent that particular disease. So ultimately, the internet will play a very crucial role to transmit the data from a patient and to a remotely located caretaker or a doctor. M health. Okay. So possibly means we consider that most of the community currently are having a mobile phone. Okay. So if I use any particular application which is related to the healthcare, then basically I term as a M health. Okay. Now, basically in a M health, the mobile device is playing a crucial role. One of the very important application that we possibly using from past 2 years is a Arogya Setu or maybe COVID app. Okay, so that is nothing but the M health application where actually you can get the vaccination slot or maybe you can even get the vaccination certificate through your mobile phone app. Now, providing the healthcare information through a SMS is possibly considered to be one of the convenient way to reach each and individual. Okay, because possibly the mobile phone is now an integral part of every particular individual lifestyle. And with that, what happens that you can easily reach out to a people who are at the remote location and possibly in a mass within no time with the help of mobile phone. So one of the application which is being developed, which we consider the first of the M health development is M Hero. Okay, this particular application is being developed by UNICEF during the crisis of the Ebola in an African country. Okay, so at that crisis time, they used to send some information to a people residing over there. Okay, and that was the one of the communication way through which they are actually able to come out the situation of that particular crisis. So real-time monitoring of the patient of the vital sign and direct provision of the care is also possible with the some of the mobile phone application. So when I consider M health, then possibly now you can collect your reports through mobile phone. So many of the pathological or diagnostic lab are now providing a support where you can have a means report through a mobile phone or maybe through some sort of online services. Okay, so ultimately the internet is playing a very crucial role where you can reach out the means pathological lab at least for collection of your data. Of course, when means you need to give the sample, then you need to visit or maybe there are some app also there where means you can connect that particular app and through which basically at your home only they can provide the service of collecting the samples of your body. So public health and lifestyle messages are basically easily can be sent through a mobile phone. And in fact, that has been a practice during the COVID-19 time where we used to get some sort of critical information through a mobile phone. Medication alert can be also sent with the mobile phone. So possibly, I mean, it could be a case that where you have used the IoT and the sensors are capturing the data, and from that data you are deriving some information. Okay, and the mobile will give you the alert that this critical situation has been arrived, so that patient is require basically the attention at this particular moment only. Okay, even this could be a very useful scenario even for the hospitalized person also to actually let the healthcare professional know that at what time that particular patient is require more attention. Telemonitoring is one of the important application that is being developed ultimately during past few years. E-prescription is now possible where doctor can prescribe the medicine to a patient. The results of the patient through can be sent with the SMS, as I said that. Another important component of the smart healthcare is a connected health. Okay, and this is actually very important component of the smart healthcare where actually all the stakeholders are connecting with each other. Okay, so in the first slide we talk about that we have the decentralized mechanism where all are not talking with each other. But in a connected healthcare, what it does that all the stakeholders are coming on a common platform and they can exchange the information seamlessly among them. It is something like that if doctor is giving me some prescription to purchase the medicine, then it is not necessary that I need to carry that prescription to a medical shop and I need to show that prescription then and then that particular medicine I can purchase from the shop. Or it is not necessary that when I want to go visit a particular pathological lab for diagnosis for some of my disease, then it is not required that I need to show them a prescription. Maybe they can get it from the common platform. Okay. Now this could be a reality in means our country as well, because I think before 2 years only that our Prime Minister has announced on 15th August that India is planning to launch a digital health ID for each and individual. Okay. So it is something like that each and individual patient is having a digital ID. Now, along with that particular ID, all the information is being stored at the centralized server. Okay. So currently, possibly you can observe that when you are visiting a particular hospital or particular laboratory, then they are fetching your detail possibly from their history. Okay. But that is in the local database pertaining to that particular hospital or laboratory only. With this digital ID, what actually it will make the revolution that this data could be stored at a cloud and it could be accessed by any hospital, any particular laboratory or any particular doctor. Okay. So with that, what happens that they can monitor a past record of a particular patient also. So this record is very important. Actually, this we term as an electronic health record. Whenever any database which is being generated from a patient and that is being stored at a cloud, then that is basically termed as an EHR. That is an electronic health record. That is very important. Okay, because your past history is also can help the doctor to provide the better preventive medicine. Now, this connected health system could be very useful for actually claiming your insurance. Okay, so currently what is the scenario that we are following, that if you want to claim insurance from a company, then you should be hospitalized to a particular place over a period of time, maybe 1 day at least. Okay, so that once you being admitted, then you will approach to your insurance company. There are some means physical person would actually see your status and then the insurance is being claimed currently. But if it is a connected health system, then what happens that against my digital ID, all the information is there that when I'm being admitted, when I'm means what kind of treatment I'm getting from that particular hospital. So only thing is that I need to inform the insurance company and just let them know that I'm being admitted, possibly through that digital ID that insurance company can verify. Even they wanted to know, then they can actually means contact that particular hospital and find out that whether the particular patient is being admitted or not. And they can actually monitor the status of that particular patient as well. So here, actually, this kind of automation will actually help to reduce the burden. And if means you are not feeling well and you are diagnosed with some disease, then actually you do not want to actually bother about all other things. Actually, you need to worry about only how you can prevent that particular disease and what are the way that through which I can come out this particular situation. So at that particular time, the connected health would be a very important component that could be utilized. Now, when we talk about adopting a such kind of solution in day-to-day life, okay, so that could be possibility because there are some sort of variable technology which are available, which you can adapt in your daily life. Like smart rings are there, smart bells are there, even means smart clothes are there. Smart watches is one of the currently the popular variable device which people are using frequently. Fitness trackers are there. So through which you can actually measure your vital parameter throughout the day. Okay. And through monitoring this vital parameter, maybe means you can take some sort of action if it is required in some critical cases. So, however, if I look at this particular currently the scenario with such kind of variable device, although they are gaining the popularity, but stability is still an issue with that. Okay, because people may find out fancy to choose a fitness tracker or variable device in their day-to-day life, but they are not being persistent with that particular device for a prolonged period. Okay, because of some reason. Okay, so first reason is currently the precision that we are getting from such kind of variable technology is not what is being expected, as well as there is a reliability issue. Now, when I talk about a healthcare domain, precision matters a lot. Okay, because if some critical condition you want to take a decision, but if you don't have that much precise data, then it could lead to a wrong decision. Okay, and maybe means it could lead to a loss of a life of that particular person. So ultimately, precision is very important. Okay, however, whatever the variable devices which are available currently, they are actually suffering from accuracy as well as a reliability. Okay, so that's why they are not that much of popular, which actually we would like to have so that we can adapt in day-to-day life. So with this, I have completed my first particular section. Okay, where I want to talk about the smart healthcare device. Now, possibly means if you have any question, then maybe I can take it down as a segment wise. Okay. In that way also, possibly I can also get some sort of a time to. So if you have any question up to this point, then maybe you can ask. I believe that means they can ask by unmuting the mic, or maybe they can write down at a chat box, and maybe the Ayas Kanta sir can help me out.
Sir, we have allowed mic for all, they can unmute
Okay.
themselves.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So if
Participant,
there are any question, because possibly I have shared my whole screen, so I am not able to view their chats also. But if it is there any, then maybe you can read out for me. And if
sir,
not, then possibly we
in
can
chat,
start with the next.
I will
Yes.
surely read out chat. And I request that they should ask or create a interactive session, because I know personally Amit sir has done certain work which are actually we can say it is product based. Okay. Okay, sir.
Yes. So means that's what actually I am trying to now come out for that particular part. But that's what I want, that possibly the interactive would be the better one. Otherwise, maybe I can speak being a teacher. It is not a difficulty for me to speak on 2 hours, 3 hours. There is no problem. Okay. But it will be very difficult for the possibly at the listener end. So it would be better that if you have any doubt, then possibly means maybe after half an hour, whenever there is a break we have like this, you can ask the question so that I can resolve it, because something are related to each other. Okay, because whatever I am going to discuss, the basis is whatever I have covered till now. Okay, so if you have any question, then possibly you can ask it right now, and if not any, then maybe I can start further. Okay. So it seems to be currently there is no question till now. Okay. So maybe I can start with now with my next topic, where I will talk about some of the case studies or some of the application that actually we are means developing at our end over here. Okay. So that I will talk about extensively, what are the devices that we are actually developing, where we are using AI and IoT extensively. Now, first case study that I want to discuss is iGlue, that is intelligent glucose monitoring device. Okay. So what is that? But before that, possibly we should understand that why we need to actually go for a glucose monitoring. Okay. Now, if you are a diabetic patient, okay, then it is advisable that you should monitor your blood glucose at least two to three times in a day. Okay. It is advisable if you are a diabetic patient. However, if I look at the current scenario, then possibly there are not much devices that actually help us. Of course, there are some self-monitoring devices which are available where I need to prick up the blood from my body. But when I consider the diabetes, then diabetes also comes with the age. Okay. So after 60, 70, okay, pricking up blood from a body, possibly once in a day, it would be difficult. Then three times in a day is actually not at all advisable. Okay. So if I look at the diabetic patient, then diabetic patient is 422 million. Okay. So possibly I am talking about the figure which are 2019, but currently it is around 440 to 450 around the world. Okay. So that is a very huge population which demands actually to monitor their blood glucose frequently. Now, once you enter into the diabetic situation, then the first thing that doctor will advise to go for your diet control. Okay, where possibly you need to decide that which kind of sweet product that you need to consume. Okay, so if I look at, then currently there is no any smart healthcare solution which actually help such a large population to decide that how I can decide my diet plan, or how I can effectively measure your blood glucose throughout the day. So for them, actually, we have worked out to develop an intelligent glucose measurement device. Okay. Now, when I talk about the diabetes, why actually the diabetes community has to take care for a frequent blood glucose measurement? Because diabetes is actually a root cause of so many diseases. Okay. So possibly means you can have some sort of hearing impairment, your vision problem, you can have a skin problem, kidney problem, you can have some sort of damage at your nerve system, cardiovascular disease, possibly the heart attack that we are actually hearing nowadays of a acute instance. Okay, that is also because one of the reason is your body is having persistent over the time, the glucose is high. So all these are basically a root cause of the diabetes. So that's why you need to take care more about yourself when you are being diagnosed at the diabetes. Now, when I talk about the diabetes, then diabetes could be identified with some sort of early symptoms. Okay, like somebody has a excursion of the urine within short time. Maybe somebody is finding the constantly hungriness or thirstiness. Maybe somebody has identified some sort of kidney problem. Maybe there is a vision change, tiredness. There could be some nerve damage. So all this could be early symptoms of entering into the diabetic condition. Now, if you are being diagnosed with the diabetes, then the chances of the death is 50% higher than your non-diabetic patient. Okay. Now, if I look at the figure in India particularly, then in India, around 70 to 75 million people are suffering from a diabetes. Okay. However, when I consider a diabetes, then diabetes is also having a different category. Okay. So type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, and third diabetes, this is gestational diabetes. That is actually temporary diabetes, which occurs during the pregnancy of the woman. Okay, once the pregnancy period is over, then this particular diabetes could be disappear. But if you are not taking a proper preventive action over a period of time, then there is a case that you may enter into type 1 or type 2 diabetes, which are the main category of the diabetes. Now, when I consider a diabetes, or when I term a diabetes, then diabetes is a condition where your body is having a high blood glucose value. Okay, so that we term to use as a hyperglycemia. Okay, now when I talk about a glucose value, then glucose actually one of the essential component of our body. Okay, so once you are being hospitalized, then for the first thing that doctor will do, that you will be put in a glucose bottle to ensure that your body is having an adequate glucose. So glucose is very vital because it actually helps us to perform your daily activity. But excess amount of the glucose is problem. But how I can know that my body is having an excess amount of glucose or not? So for that you need to monitor it. Okay. Now when I talk about this particular category of the diabetes, okay, so that actually comes along with the insulin generation capacity of your body. Now, whenever we take any particular food item, so from that food item, actually the glucagon is being generated inside our pancreas So inside our pancreas, actually, there are some hormones like alpha and beta that is actually responsible for insulin as well as a glucagon hormone that you just consider as a related to the glucose. Now the balance of these hormones is very important. Okay. So your body at the same time when you are consuming a food, your body should generate the insulin. Now over a period of time with the age also that insulin generation capacity of your body tend to change. Okay. So it tend to actually hamper along with the age. So what happens that in a later age, your body, whenever you are consuming any particular food product, then your body is able to generate the glucagon, which actually contribute towards your high glucose value. But the insulin generation capacity is being deteriorated. Okay. Now, if your body is not able to generate the enough insulin to neutralize your higher glucose value, then that condition is being considered as a type 2 diabetes. So in a type 2 diabetes, always we consider that your body is able to generate the insufficient insulin inside the pancreas. Now, due to that, whatever you take, maybe the sweet is you can consider is a direct consumption of or direct generation of your glucose. So at that time, your body is unable to generate insulin to neutralize that excessive amount of the glucose, so that there is a sudden rise of the blood glucose inside the body. Now, when you are entering into the type 2 diabetes, then it could be controlled with some sort of medication. Where type 1 diabetes is one of the critical conditions where the body is unable to generate the insulin at all or nothing, or you can consider that whatever the insulin which is generated by a body, it is equivalent to nothing. Now in this particular case, what happens that the patient has to take insulin from outside the body. Okay. So at that time, possibly if somebody is a type 1 diabetes that you observe, they used to take a injection before having a meal. Okay, just to ensure that insulin is inside the body. So after taking a meal, that whatever the glucagon is being generated, that has to be neutralized with whatever the insulin which is being injected inside the body. Okay, now possibly if a type 1 diabetes, then also they used to take the medication before the having a food. Okay. Possibly the diabetes is also one of the disease where actually you need to take a medicine before taking or having a particular food. Otherwise, in most of the time means it is the reverse way that once you are having a food, then you are actually taking a medicine. Just to ensure that your body is having enough insulin when you take a food item so that the glucagon is generated that could be neutralized. So this is a very critical situation. So in short, inside your body, the glucose and insulin balance is very important. If that hampers, then you may enter into the diabetes condition. Now this is I am talking about particularly a diabetic condition, but inside our body, the glucose value is very important. If we talk about that, ideally the glucose value inside the body has to be in the range of maybe 70, 80 to up to 150. Okay, and that also keep on changing throughout the day depending upon your activity. Of course, depending upon your diet plan also. Before taking a food, you could have a different blood glucose value, and after taking a food, you can have a different blood glucose value. So that glucose value is keep on changing inside the body, and because of that, you need to continuously track it. Okay. Now, if I look at the current solution, then you can measure your blood glucose inside the body of either of one way out of two possible solutions. One is you can visit a laboratory where you can give your blood sample, and after possibly some time, maybe half an hour or 1 hour, you will able to know the blood glucose value. Now there are two problems with this particular solution. Now, first thing is it would be very difficult to visit a laboratory maybe once in a day. Okay. Ideally, the glucose has to be known for a 2-3 times in a day, but even it is once in a day, it would be very difficult. Okay. Apart from that, the second, which could be the biggest concern, is whenever the blood is being taken out, at that time, what is your blood glucose value? That will be identified by through laboratory test. Okay. So it is something you are getting information of intermediate value of your blood glucose. But as I said, that blood glucose is keep on changing. Maybe I am saying right now, my blood glucose is something like maybe 85, 90. But if I take a particular lunch, that also depends that what I am consuming. After that, my blood glucose value can be 120, 150. Okay. So it would be very difficult to actually keep on track it with the laboratory based testing. Apart from that, there is a second option that you can adapt at your home is self-monitoring device. Okay. So there are some devices are available where you have a lancet, you have a strip. Again, in this method also, you need to prick out the blood from your body, and then you need to put a blood sample on a strip, and then in the device, once you insert that particular strip, and you would be able to measure your blood glucose value. However, the first visiting of a laboratory is being avoided with this particular approach. But still, the second issue is still that, because whenever you take out the blood from your body, at that time only, what is the blood glucose value that you would be able to know. So that means if I am taking a blood sample right now, then it will give me the what is the blood glucose value right now. If I want to know it maybe after lunch, then I need to again take out the blood sample. Maybe at the evening I want to know. Again, I need to take out the blood sample. So multiple time blood pricking is actually very inconvenient, and considering the case that diabetes comes with the age. Now, this actually put a emphasis or need of continuous glucose monitoring. So I need to actually able to measure the blood glucose continuously throughout the day. Something like means I can check out the heart rate through a variable device. Even means if you observe that any smartwatch that you are purchasing, they are actually able to give you the knowledge of your heart rate. Okay, maybe your SpO2 level, but they will not able to give an indication of your body blood glucose value. Okay, because it seems to be difficult to actually identify from a non-invasive way. Okay. So if you want to go for a continuous glucose monitoring, then the pinching inside the body and take out the blood sample and to measure the blood glucose, that is not at all the convenient way, which we consider as an invasive measurement, because you are pinching something inside the body and then you are able to measure the blood glucose, which is not at all a convenient way. Okay. If you want to measure the blood glucose value frequently or recurrently, then ultimately a non-invasive glucose monitoring device has to be evolved. And we have worked on the development towards the non-invasive glucose measurement. Okay, so this is the just a simple slide to define what is invasive, what is non-invasive. So in short, whatever we are using currently in a practice, either self-monitoring device at our home, or maybe we are visiting through a laboratory, that is an invasive method. When we talk about the non-invasive method, then ultimately from a outer body surface only, you would be able to measure the blood glucose value. So that's what our idea is. So initially when we started to development of the non-invasive blood glucose measurement, so at that time, basically which approach we need to adapt so that we can actually identify the glucose molecule effectively. So when I talk about the glucose, then glucose is basically a bonding of C, H and O component. Okay. And that actually we need to explore a way that how actually I can identify a bonding of such component inside the body from outside the body surface. So basically for that, what we have done, that we have actually done some experiment so that we can actually identify that how a non-invasive glucose could be identified. Now, currently, the most of the non-invasive approaches which are being developed, they are basically a optical base. Okay, so that means some sort of light source that you are using, and through which you will be able to identify a particular particle inside the body. And that's what actually we have also thought about to use it in our basically research. Now, whenever you thought about any particular optical source, then there are various challenges. Okay, like which kind of optical source that you need to use, LED, LCD. So there are others also. And once I decide the optical source, then what could be the wavelength of that particular optical source? So in order to answer these questions, what we have done that we have done some small experiment at our laboratory. So we are fortunate to have a material research center at our means institute where we have a means possibility of having a characterization and testing of different molecules. So we have a spectrometer over there. So basically we have used that spectrometer, which we have as a UV VIS NIR spectrometer. Okay, and through which we have done a experiment for a certain samples. So what we have done that we have actually used a distilled water, and then we have through that particular sample we have identified the spectrum of that distilled water, and then we have actually diluted the water with the glucose powder in a different concentration, 5 gram, 10 gram, 15 gram, 25 gram. Even we have also used that glucose bottle that we used to have at the hospitals. Okay, and that samples only that we have used it, and through which we have identified a spectrum. Now what is our agenda? We need to identify that at which particular wavelength a particular glucose particle can react. Okay, so by having a different samples, that where we have used the normal water and we have used the glucose water, through which we have observed the spectrum and through which we can identify the wavelength at which the glucose particle could be identified. So we've identified that 940 and 1300 nanometer is the wavelength which comes under the category of the NIR, which could be useful to identify the blood glucose value. So this is our development flow, that iGlue. iGlue is nothing but intelligent glucometer that we have developed. Okay, we have come up with a different version of that particular device. So the first version that we term as a iGlue 1.0. So where we are using actually a three sensor of a two particular wavelength, where we have used the absorption of 940 and 1300 and a reflectance of 940. And these three sensor we have used it, through which we are able to get some sort of data from a finger. So ultimately the body part that we have used, the finger is considered to one of the most convenient way. Okay, like means our device is similar to the principle of, or similar to in terms of the usage at least, like a pulse oximeter. Okay, you need to just insert a finger inside it and you can able to measure your blood glucose. So that data is being collected, then through a machine learning algorithm we have used the prediction, and that predicted value whatever is being generated, that through a IoT platform we are able to store it at the cloud, and that data is accessible to a user or maybe a doctor or maybe a caretaker of that particular user. Okay, so if my parents is suffering from a diabetes, then possibly they can use this device. Now inserting the finger is not a big deal. Okay, so one can insert the finger for a prolonged period. If somebody is an ICU, then anyhow they are using so many devices to capturing the vital parameter. Maybe they can use this device where you need to insert a finger and through which the data is being generated and through which the glucose value is being generated and that is being stored at a cloud. So means as long as you insert a finger, which consider is a convenient way to measure the blood glucose, through which you can able to measure the blood glucose value throughout the day in your day-to-day activity. Now this is just a spectrum that we have actually being observed, and through the spectrum we have actually identified it, which is the basically the ideal wavelength on which we need to work for the optical detection. So basically we have used a dual wave NIR spectroscopy. As I said that we have used the absorption and reflectance. Absorption is for 940 and 1300 nanometer, while reflectance is only at 940. However, we have tried it out of having a reflectance at 1300 nanometer, but it doesn't make any difference in terms of the accuracy. So just avoid the one more sensor. We have fixed a three sensor approach and through which we are able to get the very good accuracy. Okay, so that's three channel data that we are using. You just observe that channel 1, channel 2 and channel 3. There is three channel data that we are using it through a three different sensor and through which we are capturing the device. This is just, you can just observe that there are two boards that you are using it over here, that this is an acquisition model that we have developed it over here. And then this is the basically the Arduino Uno board that actually works as a possibly a sensor node which actually capture the data and then actually help us to transmit the data. So basically self-monitoring device is one of the important evolutions, particularly for the diabetic patient. Okay, where they can actually measure the blood glucose throughout the day without having a process of pricking up the blood from your body. So this actually convenient to have a continuous health monitoring also. Okay, because if I ask you to insert the finger and measure the blood glucose, then anybody would like to do it. Maybe means frequently throughout the day. It's not restricted 2-3 times. Maybe people can use 10-15 times also in a day. Okay, so through which they can able to measure their blood glucose value. Good thing is through a IoT approach, you can able to store it at a cloud. Okay, because as we talk about the diabetes or high blood glucose value actually could be momentary, whatever the food item that you have taken. Okay, it could be controlled by having some sort of daily activity. So what you can do that you can actually observe the data which is being stored at the cloud and through which you can actually take a decision whether actually it is a temporary diabetes condition, momentary, which could arise because of some food item, or maybe you have not done enough exercise in a day. So that observation you can do it. Apart from that, to measure the blood glucose value effectively, people are actually going for a HbA1c test. Okay, so HbA1c test is being considered as a where you can able to identify the blood glucose inside the body from 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, now our device is actually taking the data and storing at a cloud. So of course, whatever the database which is being generated that you can monitor for your 1 or 2 months over a period of time from your past history, and through which also you can actually measure your average blood glucose value. Okay, so ultimately there is no need to actually go for a HbA1c, where here you are actually getting your data which is being generated from your past 2 months through your device. So ultimately, this three sensor data approach that we have used, of course, in order to measure the blood glucose value, we have adopted the regression model. Now, in a regression model, we are using a sensor data as your one of the variable, and another is being calibrated through a standard database which is being generated. Okay, so initially in our device development iGlue 1.0, we have used that reference data as a glucose monitoring device that we are available. Okay, so the AccuCheck even means we have used a five such kind of device, that AccuCheck, AccuSure, One Touch, Dr. Morphine. So all these devices that we have adopted, and through which whatever the glucose value which we are getting for that particular person, at the same time, through our sensor, we are getting a data and we are calibrating it and preparing the regression model, which actually help us to give the estimated value at each and every time. So this experiment, we have done it extensively. Now, another development further which we have made it in a iGlue 2.0, okay, where we have used a serum glucose. That means now we are using a reference which are coming from a laboratory. Okay, even means you can measure the blood glucose through a self-monitoring device, but there are some accuracy issue with that. Okay, so doctor is also advised that go for a laboratory-based test. Okay, which actually help you to get the better value of your body blood glucose. Now, the reason is whenever you use a self-monitoring device, then you would be able to measure a capillary glucose. Okay, so ultimately you are taking out the blood sample, and from that blood sample you are measuring a blood glucose. But when you go for a laboratory, then it measures the serum glucose. Now, what is the serum glucose? That means whatever the blood sample that is being taken out from your body, they will put it in a temperature chamber, and then they used to bifurcate a heavy particle from your blood sample, and there is a white color. You can identify that it is like your water. That particular sample that they used to use it to in order to measure the blood glucose value. And from that particular sample, whatever the blood glucose value that you are measuring through laboratory, that is the serum glucose. And always the serum glucose is your best blood glucose value which you can have inside your body. So that's why the doctor is also advise you to go for a serum glucose measurement through a laboratory. So what we have done is that in a calibration as a reference value, we have used a laboratory based serum glucose value, and through which we have calibrated and then train our regression model. And so that it can able to generate the output which is closely related to the serum blood glucose value of your body. So basically, in order to do that, we have actually done some experiment through a different age people, where we have a age people from male and female category from 18 to 80 okay years old, and then it includes the pre-diabetic, diabetic, as well as a healthy person. Okay, because you also want to know that whether the device is working in your normal range 80 to 150, as well as when you are entering into the pre-diabetic, which possibly 150 to 200 or maybe greater than 200. So all these people we have recruited, all these samples that we have collected through a laboratory, and through which we have trained our model so that our device would also able to give a correct value in this particular range. Now, whenever you develop a particular devices, particularly a glucose monitoring device, then there is a validation. Okay, because you are actually suggesting some health monitoring devices. So for that, there is a Clark error grid analysis, that is a validation benchmark that is being used in a literature or even in a device development. So if you observe that here in a Clark error grid analysis, there are two axes. One is a reference, another is a estimated blood glucose. If your estimated blood glucose, which is being generated from a device which we have developed, with the reference blood glucose which we collected from a laboratory, if it matches, then that value remains in zone A. Okay, possibly you will get a linear curve, okay, which remains in zone A. So if you are getting a reading in zone A, then it is clinically accurate product. If there is slight deviation, then you can come into zone B. Okay, so that is also good enough, where you are getting accuracy 75 to 80%. Okay. However, if you are in a zone C, D, E, then there is some sort of correction that is required inside the device so that it could be useful for a clinical validation. Okay, so whatever the data that we have collected over 200 samples, then actually around 90% of the samples are falling in zone A. So which suggests that whatever we have developed it, that is clinically accurate and people can use into day-to-day life. Now, whenever you are actually measuring or developing something, then ultimately you need to also compare your performance with the past literature. So, however, in a non-invasive glucose measurement device, there are many literature that you can find it out. But possibly among all the literature, we are getting the best accuracy, which we consider in terms of the R value or MARD value. So all this parameter is nothing but some way to identify the error of your estimated blood glucose value against the actual blood glucose value. Okay. And if we talk about the cost wise, then cost wise is also our solution is cheaper because we have used actually a LED source, and LED is actually, if you observe in the market, that is coming out in terms of the 100 rupees only. Okay. So through which you can whatever the generated solution that we have developed, that actually cost in terms of the product wise, it is 1500 to 2000 only. Okay, so it is also very cost effective solution which actually people can use in their day to day. Now IoT, here we have used it for actually some own benefit in order to have a control. Now, when we talk about the smart healthcare, then possibly we discuss that diagnosis is not the only requirement. Actually, you need to also want to have some sort of automation in terms of the drug delivery mechanism or in terms of the automatic preventive action. So here what we have done is that whatever the glucose measurement device that we have developed, that is storing the data at a cloud. Okay. Now, if you are a type 1 diabetes patient, then what you can do that you can decide your insulin secretion according to your current blood glucose value. Now, currently what happens that people used to take a one prescribed dose of insulin irrespective what is your current blood glucose value. The problem is that it is very difficult to know the current blood glucose value. But since our device, whatever we have developed it, that actually help you to measure the blood glucose value non-invasively at any point of time. So this could be integrated with the insulin pump. Okay, now the job of the insulin pump is to secrete the insulin inside the body. But the amount of the insulin is being decided by whatever the current blood glucose value. Okay. So instead of taking any prescribed dose of the insulin, you can effectively change the volume of the insulin inside the body, which you are secreting through an insulin pump according to your present blood glucose value. Now, this is actually being integrated through a IoT. Okay. So through basically a device, there is a IoT as a sensor node that we have generated that actually help you to 1 minute. So that actually help you to actually measure the blood glucose value, and that glucose value is being supplied to your means insulin, your insulin pump. Now there is one model inside the insulin pump which actually help you to decide your insulin dosage, and that insulin dosage will be injected inside your body. Okay, even here there could be a mechanism that there could be a doctor inside the loop. Now doctor will actually control this insulin pump. So this command could be generated for this particular insulin from a doctor end also. So doctor will decide that this is the insulin dosage that you need to take it. Okay. However, there is a primary model which is also being developed, which decide that what is the exact amount of the insulin that you should have for your present blood glucose value. So that glucose control mechanism is basically we have developed it through artificial pancreas system. So artificial pancreas, that means through an insulin pump, you are actually taking care that how you can neutralize excess amount of the glucose of your body through a insulin secretion through a insulin pump. So that actually being integrated with each other through a IoT. Even the command could be also same from a remote location to a insulin pump so that it can be. So ultimately this basically help you to have a control mechanism or a closed loop system where you identify your excess amount of blood glucose. So even you do not have to wait for a particular time. Once your body is having a insulin excess amount of the blood glucose, you can inject the insulin at the same time only. So do not wait for your having a food or something like that. Okay. So if your body is having a excess amount of the glucose, then through insulin pump, the insulin is being generated so that the diabetes could be controlled effectively. Okay, so this is what actually I have to use it the terms that alpha and beta that actually help us to have a glucose insulin control model. So that possibly I have already discussed. So I'm just going it uh, faster. So actually we have also developed the glucose insulin mathematical model. That model actually we have developed it, and that is actually being validated against the performance of the UA Padova simulator. So that is basically a simulator which is extensively used in a literature. Okay, but this simulator is paid one. But whatever the model that we have developed it, that we have developed it with the easy simulator tool which is being simulated on a Matplotlib platform. Okay, where in order to develop this particular model, we have considered a different parameter like glucose absorption rate, your net haptic glucose balance, your glucose utilization, renal excursion. So all these parameters that we have considered to develop the effective glucose insulin model, which actually help us to decide that which amount of the insulin to be injected inside the bottle. So that actually we termed as a 1.1, that iGlu control mechanism, where automatic glucose control is possible through a IoT framework. Okay, so it is IoMT framework because we are using this IoT in our medical purpose. So all are being considered. So this is the basically the proposed artificial pancreas mechanism, which is integrated with our iGlu. So basically you will able to decide that whether your blood glucose is high. If it is high, then you are in a hyperglycemia case. If it is normal, then no need to do anything. It could be a case that your body blood glucose value is lesser, then possibly you need to take some sort of way through which you can boost your body blood glucose value. And that is being stored at a cloud with the means the information being exchanged to a doctor as well. So he also monitor your body blood glucose continuously. Actually means continuously monitoring for any person. It is very difficult. But what could be done that whenever the body blood glucose is high, then there has to be some sort of alert and warning message which is being generated so that one can easily know that now there is a problem. So now I need to think about of having insulin injection inside the body of that particular person. So this is the thing that we have developed it. It is actually being developed and it is being tested our model in a 4 real-time subject. So we have actually means MOU with the one of the diabetologists which are available in nearby hospital, and that and through the this kind of experiment we have actually done it on a real subject as well. Apart from that, we have also done about the security mechanism of that particular devices. So possibly you can think about the hardware security of the insulin pump and your glucometer. So for that, possibly the puff is one of the very important primitive that you can use it. What I believe that yesterday Mohanty sir has already discussed about this for a puff. So that puff based solution also we have developed it in our secure iGlu mechanism. So with this, I am completing my first case study. So since possibly maybe we can have a stop at this particular point of time. And if you have any question, then I would be more than happy to answer those queries at right now. Just any question, if you have, then you can unmute it and you can ask it. Okay. So it seems to be there is no question. Okay. So another case study that I would.
Sir. There is a question here from offline.
Yes. Yes,
We are just
please.
unmuting. It took time. Okay, sir.
Maybe he can unmute himself and ask the question.
Yeah, we are from here only directly.
Okay.
Morning, sir. So the
Yes.
question is, sir, what is the resolution of this iGlu device? Means if
Actually,
you have,
yes, please.
sir, the value will be compatible to the pump, insulin form, no? So in that way, it will be going to inject the insulin. Amount of insulin will be decided according to the resolution of that device.
Yes. So actually, ma'am, means that actually comes with the ADC that we are using it at our iGlu device, whatever the acquisition module that we have used it. So that acquisition module is having basically the ADC of the 12-bit. Okay, so the 12-bit ADC that we have used it with that we are getting a very good enough precision. Okay, so even that when we have actually used with this particular ADC configuration and map it with the reference blood glucose value, then also we are getting 90 to 95% of accuracy. Okay, with the serum glucose measurement as well. So means whatever the ADC that we have used it, that is good enough to provide the accuracy with the higher resolution.
Okay, sir. So another question is like you have taken that water glucose and you have with a spectrometer you have deciding the wavelength of your that reflection and absorption thing.
Yes,
But
yes.
blood, actual blood is something different. No, it's not a water glucose. So how far it will be accurate to that level
Yes.
of our.
So that's what the case. Okay. key means what we have done it that actually these samples that which we have actually collected, that is not actually for only a single day sample. Okay, actually we have collected the samples and done this experiment, and this that sample collection is being carried out for over a period of 2 weeks. Okay, so because initially what we have actually got it key, once we dissolve a glucose powder into the water, then how much time it will take to dissolve the glucose, that is also mattering. Okay, so when we use the water sample having a glucose powder diluted form, then means how much time it take to dissolve a glucose inside the water sample. That is also one of the question. Okay, that also we have observed that is actually reflecting a change of the glucose wavelength. Okay, so what we have done it, then we have actually purchased a glucose bottle, concentrated bottle, which are available in the market. Okay, that possibly you will observe that is 5%, 10% and 25%, that which are available, where 5 mg of the glucose is there, 10 mg of the glucose is there, and 25 mg of the glucose is there. That is available in the market. Even in some of the hospitals also means we have approach. So with that particular consideration, with the multiple trial run, we would be able to identify this is the best wavelength that on which we can work. However, initially we also got few more wavelength, but when we have tried it to adapt it in our solution, then we are not getting accuracy. But with this particular wavelength, we have done some sort of trial and error and identified that these two wavelengths are the best, which actually help us to get the glucose value. So it is something that comes with the trial and error with the different wavelength.
It will be mostly equivalent to that blood sugar also, means the water glucose and the blood sugar.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, that whatever the actually the blood sugar value. Okay, so blood sugar value with this wavelength, we are getting more closely. Okay, of course, the point that you have raised is a valid one. Okay, how close it is, but actually it is more closer than your self-monitoring device. Okay, even whatever the self-monitoring device which we have adopted initially for iGloop 1.0, like AccuCheck and Dr. Morphine and One Touch, they are also actually having a deviation in terms of the accuracy of in terms of the mg per dl, up to 10 mg per dl to the 50 mg per dl. Okay, so still people are using, and with our definitely we are getting a better accuracy and whatever is available in the market as a self monitoring device. So definitely this could be very useful. And anyhow, we are not actually claiming that this is a replacing your laboratory based test. Okay, this actually give you an indication somehow that if you are having a consistently with this particular device, a glucose value is higher, then possibly you need to consult a doctor, or maybe you need to go for a blood glucose measurement. Okay, even if that indication is given to you that when you need to visit a laboratory, then also I think it could be a very good solution which could be adapted for a diabetic patient.
So one more thing, the three sensors you have told now, what are the three sensors you have used in your model, that device?
So means as I said, the 940 absorption means and reflectance, and 1300 absorption. Now, if you want a more details, exact sensor details, actually I have included in my paper. You can search out iGlue on a Google. Okay, on a Google Scholar, you will find out the different version, because we have at least 6 to 7 publication on iGlue. Okay, and that is available, easily available on the internet.
One Arduino board was there, and another one is another piece of hardware is there. What was that, sir?
See, there was an acquisition module where we have used a component like whatever the LED sensor along with your means resistors and some sort of capacitor. So that all information actually we have publicized it in our archive version. So you can go through it, and still if you want some further help, then definitely we could help you for that.
Thank you, sir.
I hope I have clarified your doubts, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, any further question? Okay. So if there is no further question, then maybe I can start with my second case study. Possibly I will try to now go through little bit faster because there are two more case study and then possibly I will to cover the emerging application and then challenges. So that is upper limb prosthetic control. Okay. So basically when we talk about particularly survey in India, then there are 23,500 amputees which are being added annually in the India. Okay, there may be amputees which are having a loss of hand, maybe loss of leg. Okay, so for them also we need to think about some effective solution. Okay, so basically artificial limb could be one of the solution that we can use it. Okay. Now, what we have observed that whatever the most of the artificial limb which are available to help such kind of amputee, they are basically operated through a spring. Okay. And where you need to apply some body force and through that spring movement, you can perform certain activity. However, the idea is you can control that artificial limb through a brain. Okay, even through my brain, I can control the remotely located some of the artificial limb. So that could be possible. Okay, so which we have worked on this. So specifically, we have worked in for the upper limb prosthetic. Okay, so those who are not having a hand, and if they want to control something, then possibly through upper limb prosthetic, they can perform their daily activity. Now, hand is one of the very important organ. Okay, just think about that. If you are not having a hand, then how actually you can do it, how you can eat, or how you can actually perform your daily activity. So that's why means we have identified that we want to work on the upper limb. Okay, however, as I said that the lower limb where you can use your leg, that could be also the artificial part of your body, that could be also controlled through your brain. So idea is that we have worked on the upper limb prosthetic where it is being controlled through our brain. Okay, so brain is sending a command to that particular limb. Now that command could be generated directly from the brain that you can transmit it on your artificial limb, or maybe that is being decoding from your body part and that is generating a command. Okay, so basically if you go for a literature, then that prosthetic limb control is basically done through a EEG or EMG. So EEG is that is something when I put a sensor at your head and observing the brain signal directly. Okay, EMG is also a signal which is basically generated from a brain, but that sensor you are placing at your body muscles and through which you are able to identify the or you are able to control your prosthetic. Now, in this two approach, when we have initially studied it, then possibly the having a EEG signal from your muscle skulls require a definitely a better knowledge where you need to place basically a sensor, and it would be very cumbersome to actually have wearing that particular EEG. Even it is a caps are available, but through which because we are actually developing a solution where we want to use the artificial hand or robotic arm for our daily activity. So that particular has to be where prolonged period of time or maybe throughout the day. So EEG based prosthetic control could be problematic in that case, but EMG could be very effective way where you can have a sensor at your muscle skulls. Okay, so whenever there is a muscles through which you can capture your EMG signal, you can identify the pattern whatever person is wanted to do and through which you can control your robotic arm. So the vision is that there is a robotic arm that has to be controlled through a EMG. However, that EMG is also basically a signal where it identifies the activity of the brain. Okay, so EMG is also actually driven by a brain only. Okay, So this is just a brain computer interfaces or human machine interfacing approach through which you can actually help these amputees to perform their daily activity. So such kind of prosthetic arms are available. Okay, but they are not popular because they are costing around maybe thousands of dollars. Okay, so that is not possibly a solution which could be adapted for a common people. So what we have done it, we have actually developed a machine learning model where we can have some sort of feature extraction, preparation of feature matrix, and then we have classified. So what we have done is that for a healthy person, when let's consider that I am a healthy person. So when I am doing some activity like holding some item or maybe opening and closing the hand, then what kind of signal which is generated at the muscle scalp. Okay, that I am identified, that pattern is being recognized and that is being supplied to a robotic arm and through which you can able to actually control the robotic arm for your daily activity. Okay, so acquiring the EMG signal is not a that much of cumbersome like a EEG. So you need to place a sensors at your muscles and through which you can capture your EMG signal. Okay, capturing of the EMG signal is also possible where you have some range through which the EEG signal is being generated. However, the surface EMG is one of the ideal solution where from the body surface non-invasively you can capture the EMG signal. However, needle based electrodes are also there where you need to inject inside it, but to be honest, that means currently in a smart healthcare, basically we want to measure it a non-invasive way so that means we can do it. So basically the whatever the signal which is generated from the arm cortex that goes from a spinal cord and that is basically go through your nerve system and at the muscles fiber you are identifying that signal strand and that signal strand do vary according to the activity that you are performing. That means whenever I am holding something, then whatever the signal of the EMG which is being generated at your muscles of your arm could be different when I'm opening my hand. And that pattern is being observed. Okay. And fortunately, the different pattern is being generated for a different activity. And that actually prompt us to use the such kind of device for our prosthetic control. So basically, surface electrode will help you to capture the signal. Then through some sort of signal conditioning, you are getting your signal fine-tuned for your ML model, and you are able to generate the enough command that actually help you to perform the daily activity. Just to give the demo, I have prepared actually a demo. So how actually it is being done that I am showing. So I hope means my screen is visible. Ayaskanta sir, can you help me to figure out that I am running one demo? So hope that it is visible.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
I think there is a one video which I am playing
yeah,
and
yeah.
that is basically visible to you.
Yeah, there is no sound from that, but it is
Okay,
running.
I will explain. That I know that there is a problem, but I will explain that. But I think visibility is there for that particular video.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay. So what could be done that now idea is that ultimately through a sensor we need to capture the signal from your muscles and that signal is basically generate or help us to generate some command for your robotic arm and through which you can able to control your robotic arm for certain activity. Okay, so this is the demonstration that possibly as a subject myself is only. So I have put some electrodes on my forearm. You just observe it. Okay. However, when I talk about the upper limb amputee, then upper limb amputee could be of different. Maybe you have a loss of whole forearm, or maybe you can have loss of lower part of your arm. But we are considering a case that whenever you are using the EMG, then we have some sort of muscles at your arm through which we are able to capture the signal. Okay. And that signal which is being generated and that is being acquired and that is basically supplied to the system. In a system, there is some ML model which is being developed through which it is generating some command and that command is being supplied to that robotic arm. You just observe that white color robotic arm is there. Okay. So here in this particular demo, I have basically consider few activities which is being demonstrated over here. So that is the acquisition model that is being provided over here, which is being connected through your sensor, and that is being connected to your laptop. In a laptop, your machine learning model generates some command, and that command is being supplied to your robotic arm. Now, I will perform some activity like opening the hand, closing the hand, as well as the picking up few items. Okay. And how the robotic arm is working. So hand open and hand close activity is being performed. So basically you just observe. So what you need to observe it over here. So please concentrate the two things, how I am moving my hand and how remotely that particular robotic arm is performing the similar activity, what I am doing by my hand. So you just observe that I am opening my hand, robotic arm is having the opening of the hand. I am now closing my hand. So you just observe that robotic arm is closing the hand. Again, I am opening the hand. So it will be open the hand. Now I will talk about some grasping activity. If I am holding something, I am holding the bottle, then the means robotic arm is also positioning the arm such a way that it will grasp the bottle. Okay. So this kind of basic activity, we were able to demonstrate it with the EMG based prosthetic control, and that is being successful even. Okay. So now I am coming back to my original PPT. I hope you have observed the activity of the robotic arm, which is actually being controlled by the healthy patient. Now IoT could be placed where actually that from the healthy patient you can capture that particular command, and that command you can supply to your robotic arm which is at the remote place, through which you can actually control your robot also. Okay, so that is also a possibility over here. Now deep learning algorithm also we have applied. So initially we have started with the machine learning, then we have adopted the deep learning, and through which also we are actually getting a classification accuracy which is around 95 to 99. Okay. We have demonstrated this particular model on a healthy people as well as amputees. Of course, getting a amputee is always a challenge, but we have a Bhagwan Mahavir Viklang Kendra which is just adjacent to our college. So we have actually got some amputees over there, and over 5 amputees, not five, I think the 3 amputees initially that we have tried it out, and then means 2 more we have included later on. So till now we have demonstrated our model on a 5 different amputees. Now the third case study that I would like to cover is basically a detection of a mental disorder. Okay, through a smart healthcare. So where I will talk about the two mental disorder. One is a depression and another is a schizophrenia. Now, when we talk about a mental disorder, then 1 in 5 suffers from any kind of mental disorder, but they are not knowing it. Okay. So maybe you can take a preventive action once you have a knowledge of having some sort of symptoms of that particular mental disorder. Unfortunately, when we talk about the mental disorder, it is not having any visible symptom so that one can identify from just viewing a person. Okay. Now, depression is one of the major, you can consider a mental disorder, and even after the COVID or during the COVID, also the cases has been gradually increased of having a depression. So when we talk about a rate of means mental disorder, particularly around the world and particularly in the India, so our rate of the depression is more than the global average. Okay, so global average is 7 and 13, while we are having a 14 and 20, particularly for the woman, and similarly for a man it is around 18 and 20, that while we are getting 21 and 22. Okay, so particularly India's depression suicidal rate is more, which is around 21 points higher than the global average. So it is a something like alarming situation. However, according to the report of the WHO, that depression is a first mental disorder illness that actually contribute to the death of the person. 300 million people exist globally with the depression. Okay, and depression is a contributor of the 7.5% of the global disability. When we talk about particularly India, then 50% of the Indian are actually suffering from one or more mental disorder. Ideally, 1 out of 20 is being a depressed person in India, according to the report which is being published by a National Mental Health Survey. Now, as I said, that depression is having not specific symptoms. Okay, even means if a person is facing a depression issue, then he would to like to be a loneliness. He doesn't want to share anything with the others. Okay, so that is also one of the main problem to identify a cases of the depression. So, however, the depression could be identified with some of the variable devices which are available, and there are few works are also being done. So there are some means in smart watches are being there by Apple, which actually help us to find out the mood of a particular person. And from that, you can identify that whether a person is being depressed or not. Okay. However, there are few more works are which is being developed. Okay, where depression or stress are being identified from a different variable sensor. So like a temperature sensor, your accelerometer, which actually help you to get the daily activity along with the humidity sensor. You can identify. Okay, so means you are identified that how much a person is basically moving throughout the day. What is the sweat is being generated from a person body? What is the body temperature of that person body? So these three sensor combining the data is being actually stored. So this sensor will capture the data. It is being stored at a cloud. At the cloud, there is some means processing capability is there, where through which you can identify that that person is being stressed or not, or even the people has identified that what is the stress value through which you can categorize whether it is a mildly depressed or highly depressed or low depressed person. So that work is being done. Even we have also done a work in a depression where we have used the EEG. Okay, so EEG is, you can consider, is one of the very important biomarker which could be useful for detecting a depression. Of course, the capturing of the EEG is somewhat sophisticated compared to others, but definitely if it is basically a saving of a life of a person, then possibly the accuracy is very much important. And whatever the accuracy that you are getting with the EEG, nobody other biomarker can help you to get it out. Because depression is being identified by having a voice or observing the speech of the person, maybe through a computer based vision based model also, but they are suffering from accuracy. Okay, and since the EEG we have observed is providing a better accuracy, we have stick with the EEG. So with EEG is that we have used it, then basically through a EEG acquisition model, we are getting a EEG signal effectively. And then we have developed some effective machine learning model through a CNN and LSTM, through which we are able to identify a depressed and healthy or normal person with the accuracy of 99.5%. Okay, so which is around, or you can get it closely 100% accuracy. Another mental disorder which is affecting our society is a schizophrenia. Okay, which has affected around 24 million people in the world. So 1 in 300 people worldwide is suffering from a schizophrenia. In a schizophrenia, basically you are getting some sort of hallucination images, okay, in front of you, and that actually because of, if means it is not being treated in a proper time, then definitely it could lead to a loss of a life of that particular person. Could be a suicidal attempt, or it could actually lead to your other kind of adjacent disease also through a schizophrenia. So Basically, major cause of the dysnosmia, it could be a lead exposure, it could be a surrounding environmental effect. Maybe there has to be some sort of neurological irregularity which is being observed. It could be the hereditary also. So basically, schizophrenia could be also identified through a EEG where you can observe the brain activity of a that particular person. Okay, so basically through just observe that at your brain, and along with the some sort of signal, you can just observe that there is a clear cut difference of the high risk person and the schizophrenia person. So ultimately what we are trying to do, we are trying to actually develop a effective solution for a schizophrenia detector through means EEG, as well as some sort of preventive solution, so that one can take care of that particular person and proper time. So that basically the schizophrenia detection model that we have developed with the multi-channel EEG signal, and through which also we are able to identify the schizophrenia effectively around 98 to 99%. Now here also we have used the IoT based framework to having a control mechanism for a schizophrenia patient. Okay. So ultimately the patient has to wear a one variable cap. Okay. That cap is basically capturing your EEG signal. Nowadays the variable cap is are available. Okay. Which could be adapted and which could be a easier solution to capture the EEG pattern of your particular patient. That from that acquisition module which is being capturing the EEG signal, that you can transmit it through some sort of IoT device to a cloud server where the data is being captured that through that edge processing unit, and there are some intelligent algorithm is helping to identify the schizophrenia of that particular person. And once it is being identified, then it is sending some alarm or warning signal to a caretaker. Maybe for a student, it could be a parents as well. That there is some means abnormal mental activity which could be lead to a schizophrenia or depression could be identified through a means EEG, and that signal is being generated as an alarm to a parent so that they can take a proper time preventive action. So idea is basically we can have a some sort of variable cap, which variable cap is actually being developed by along with the acquisition module. So what we want that we should have a one particular cap like this that you can wear it uh, on your head. Over there is some indication which is being generated. That indication could be green or red. So red is just a detection of the schizophrenia from that particular patient. So, and along with that, whenever the red signal is being generated at that time, the transmitter of the alert signal is also being sent to a caretaker and a patient of the patient, and through which the identification and the proper control mechanism could be taken care by a caretaker. Okay. So these are the model details, but I'm not actually detailing it because of the limitation of the time. But if you are interested, then I think we have a very recent publication of the schizophrenia detection from our research group that you can identify, that you can go through it, where we are actually getting accuracy of with our newly proposed hybrid model as a 99% even. Now this model is being tested with the means different data set of and the accuracy is good enough. Okay. Now I will quickly talk about some of the smart healthcare technology that could be useful for the COVID-19. We have talked about the diabetes. Actually, the diabetes is more dangerous for any kind of virus. Okay. The database was initially was published that that diabetes patients are more likely to being affected by COVID-19. Okay. Because that once your body blood glucose value is high, then that could be the ideal situation for the mutation of the virus. Okay. So that's why you need to take up more preventive action being a diabetic patient. Diabetic is also linkage comorbidity with actually for an earlier virus of your MERS and SARS and H1N1, which actually occurs during the 2003, 9 and 12. Okay, so diabetes patient has to take a means more precautionary measurement because they are having a high blood glucose value, which actually thrive by a virus to have a mutation. Now, if you talk about the means linkage comorbidity, then ultimately diabetes is basically 9.2% of the contributor of your COVID-19 patient, with the CVD patient and hypertension people is also. So these four are the linkage you can consider the disease where the more of the COVID-19 patient is being affected. So basically, as I said, that high temperature is something which actually suitable for a virus so that it can get the mutation. So ultimately, if a diabetes patient, then you are at a more risk than the others of being affected by any particular virus. I am not talking about only the COVID-19, but previously also the study was carried out and where it has been observed that a high blood glucose value is more vulnerable for the any virus entry. Now I will talk about some of the emerging application that you can use it with where the IoT has played a very crucial role. One of the application is a easy band, which actually in a research group we have developed it, which is a safety aware band, which actually help us to identify the COVID infected patient. Okay, so this solution we have developed in the early days. So possibly that publication is also come out in June 2020. Okay, where we have developed a variable band. That variable band which actually help us to identify or even trace out the COVID infected patient uh, surrounding you. Okay, so that easy is a variable band where you have that band is having a three indication: green, red, and your yellow. Green means that person is absolutely fine. However, if that person is comes in a close vicinity of any COVID infected person, then automatically that green will go enter into the yellow. And if a person is being diagnosed with the COVID, then that indication is red. Okay. So ultimately that band is having a small memory which actually capture the data of unique ID of the surrounding easy band. So we are considering that this easy band device is being where we variable device which has been used by all the patients who are moving in a close vicinity. Now, whenever my band will identify something in a close vicinity which is having a red indication, then it will give me the alarm signal. Okay, it may enter into a red zone if I'm in a 6 to 13 feet of distance, as well as it is also capturing and storing the ID of nearby people. So this actually could be helpful to have a contact tracing because when the COVID has been started at that time, the contact tracing was a major problem because if you are in a close vicinity of the COVID patient or somebody is infected of a COVID, then you need to identify that from past 7 days or 10 days whom he met, and they need to go for a isolation as well. So over there that we have used that kind of easy band device, we are actually storing the data of such kind of easy band ID to a cloud over a period of time, and through it the contact tracing is possible. Another important thing is the intelligent diet control. Okay, so diet is very important for our daily life. And even if you are a diabetic patient, then diet control is in fact one of the way through which you can overcome for a high blood glucose value condition. So intelligent diet control mechanism has been developed where there is one app through which you can capture your picture of that particular food item. It will give you the indication that what amount of the carbohydrates that is being consumed by you and what could be the ideal blood glucose value after having this particular food item. It can even help you to identify that what could be your next meal. If my blood glucose value is something in a high range, then in order to control that, what kind of food item I need to take it so that I can have a proper diet control. Telemedicine, we have discussed this, that is the one of the revolution where doctor and patient can connect with each other. And this is very important in our India, where we have a large population We have so many villages where there is a scarcity of the doctor, where it is very difficult to reach out to a doctor from a remote location. But through a telemedicine where a doctor and patient can connect through some sort of technology, and doctor will give a teleprescription, and so that the preventive action can be taken at the patient end. So ultimately social distancing norm is being followed, which which was required at the time of the COVID-19. So at that time, this kind of solution is very helpful. Robotic based solution is very important. Okay, and which is one of the very upcoming emerging technology, where basically we are now having a more confidence of the robotic kind of solution. Okay, where we certainly assign some of the tasks to be performed by our robots. Okay, so possibly in a tourism and hospitality management, the robot will play a very crucial role. Even during the COVID-19 cases, the robot were used to go for a sanitization purpose, for the food delivery, even for a sample collection also, the robotic based solution have been used, and it was successfully being deployed also. So industrial 4 solution, where means the data which is being generated from a smart production house, smart transportation, and then actually help us to get the decision. Okay, even during the second wave of the COVID, we have observed that there is a scarcity of the oxygen cylinder. Okay, now at that time means it was very difficult to arrange the oxygen bottle for a needy one. Now through some sort of intelligent industry 4 solution, you can find out the exact need according to the number of population or maybe number of linkage comorbidity. We have already identified that CVD people, diabetes people are more vulnerable for such kind of virus. So maybe through a database, it could be managed that where actually such kind of community or population is large enough in our different part of the country, and through which you can supply more such kind of resources over there. So that decision you can take it by having a such kind of large database of a patient. Trusted food supply chain management is one of the very important area, where which is you can consider upcoming area where you want to identify the quality of the food item. Okay, because when we talk about a pack food, then definitely there is a expiry date is available. But what about the vegetable, fruits? Okay, we are not able to identify whether that particular food product is having a in a good quality or safe. So there could be some sort of device. Even there are some work is also going on where through scanning of that particular food, you can actually judge the quality of the food item. There are some app through which you can judge that how much time it has taken to reach at the consumer end from the farming. Okay, because certain usually the fruits is having a lifetime of 2 to 3 weeks on. Okay, so through this particular intelligent mechanism, you can identify that whether whatever the food product that you are consuming, whether actually that will actually help you to boost your immunity or not. Because we have observed that immunity will play a very crucial role in our body to fight against such kind of virus. So actually you are thinking about of boosting your immunity by having such product. But sometimes if it is some sort of adulterate food, then possibly it can reduce your immunity as well. Okay, so ultimately the through some sort of intelligent mechanism, there has to find out the way that we can find out the food supply chain, and we can identify that whether this particular food item is good enough for at this point of time or not. Now, possibly in next 5-10 minutes, I will try to wind up my talk, and I will talk about the challenges that you can have while adopting such kind of smart healthcare solution. So one of the important challenge that we would be facing while using the IoT in our healthcare domain is data privacy and security. When some patient data is being generated, that electronics health record is very private. Okay, I do not want to reveal that I am sick and wanting the attention from the society. So ultimately, whatever the data which is being generated from a sensor, which are being stored at a cloud. So of course, security of the data and privacy of the data has to be maintained. The data has to be shared to some of the person only, not that it should be available for all the person. Okay, like whatever the data which is being captured from my variable devices, that should be accessible, or that has to be control accessible to a doctors or maybe my nearby caretakers, not to all. Security and privacy of the variable device is also very important. Okay, so basically whatever the device is, whatever the sensor that we are using, which are capturing a data from your body, whether that sensor is genuine or not. Like whatever the developed solution that we have developed, that glucometer and insulin pump, whether the insulin is being injected by a genuine pump or not, whatever the insulin pump is there, which actually help us to go for a glucose, insulin glucose balance, whether it is the actual insulin pump which should work for a injecting action. So hardware security is also one of the upcoming area which we need to address in this particular IoT based variable system. Power management is definitely one of the issue, because we want a sensor to capture the data continuously from our body. But how far they can provide the support? Okay, because they are ultimately variable device which are battery operated. Okay, so how more longer this battery life can give us, so that this sensor can capture the data throughout the day. Interoperability, that is also one of the very important aspect. Since we are using heterogeneous network where there are so many devices which are exchanging the data of each other, then interoperability from one device to another device, it should be also seamlessly. Like it could be a case that through my Samsung mobile, I want to control a device which is being developed by Intel. So this two company has to share our details, because device is from one manufacturer and that command accepting entity is from the another manufacturer. So their interoperability among the different manufacturer has to be established, so that at the user end I can get the seamless connectivity. So finally, AI along with the IoT will play definitely a major role in a smart healthcare, where we are basically moving towards the healthcare cyber physical system, where you have a device connected with the software and we are taking some important decision which can provide the control mechanism to that particular device. ML and AI is obviously play a very significant role to derive a useful information and to take a proper preventive action for a improvement of the quality of the healthcare management. Of course, there are few challenges that we have discussed lastly in 5 minutes, that privacy, security, power management, interoperability. Those are the challenges still ahead in front of us, which has to be addressed first. So, and later on, such kind of IoT based solution, we can adapt it in our day-to-day life. So with this, I'm ending off of my session and I will be more than happy to now answer your queries. Yes, if you have any question, then maybe you can ask me straight away, or maybe I can just check out.
So one more question is there.
Yeah.
So
Please,
actually,
I think I can.
which hardware platform should we use for this machine learning approach, and is the ping board will be sufficient to work with, or something else is there? Or
See, that also comes about with the question is what amount of the complexity that you want to handle in terms of the algorithm, because that is a one thing is algorithm complexity. Okay. And because of that only, we are actually not taking a decision at the sensor end, because when we talk about any variable device like a smartwatch, maybe at the smartwatch only, it could have some sort of intelligent algorithm and there has to send some command to take a preventive action. But when we talk about handling of the complexity, okay, that also comes with some sort of hardware specification. Okay, so possibly whatever the microcontroller or whatever the embedded system that we are using at the variable device end, that may not be able to handle that much of complexity. Okay, so it comes with the application. Of course, the FPGA board and Z board could be also one of the solution which you can use it to handle the complex algorithm, which we are talking about ML and deep learning algorithm. Okay, but that also comes out with the cost. Okay, but if we look at that, look at the different solution of the embedded system, then possibly the variable system I would like to have for maybe means 1,000 rupees, 1,000 rupees. If I introduce the FPGA board and high-end board, then definitely I can handle the complexity. Okay, but what about the cost? Okay, so that is also you need to take consideration. So there is a trade-off of accuracy against the complexity, and as well as the important thing is cost, because ultimately you need to sell that particular product inside the market. So at that time, user will first thing will consider a cost, then possibly he or she may think about the functionality. So that totally depends upon what kind of solution you are looking for and whom you are targeting. Okay. I hope I have given you the
Yes,
answer. So clear cut answer is not possible, but it you need to also think about the cost versus accuracy trade-off. Okay.
okay, so but the Python language will be compatible with the Z board.
Uh, See, currently means whatever the solution that I have developed, for that I have used the Arduino board and Raspberry Pi board. Okay. However, means currently there are some FPGA board which is being developed. Okay, they are come up with the also newer version, because previously we are having a Vivado where Vivado HLS is there. Then normal your Vivado simulation synthesis tools is there. Now they are coming with the VTs. Okay, and they are having some sort of support of the Python. I have not used it. Okay, actually we are also actually in a that procurement process, but currently means I have an impression that now Python is also being supported by a FPGA board.
Okay, sir, but the hardware handling, how you are doing then? In which the biomedical signals you are handling like ECG, EMG, and EEG? On which platform you are doing
Actually,
that one?
see, currently, whatever the solution that we have developed, we have actually not actually developed exactly some sort of product kind of thing. So currently, whatever the complexity of the algorithm we are handling at the laptop and system end only. Not we are having any edge computing device or any variable device which are having basically that basically computing capability. That being a researcher, basically we are using it at our laptop and only we are handling that capability. Even we have not tried it out FPGA yet for any of our application. Okay. But as I said that now currently I think means there are some solution which in a newer version, they are basically there are some pink bodies also there, that it is a combination of zinc where the Python can be loaded. Okay. So as again, I am saying that I have not used any of this board, but I also came to know, and possibly from the institute level also, we are actually trying to procure such kind of board where we have a Python support for a FPGA.
So when we are going to immerse that IoT in it, so we have to think for some hardware on that, no? Or else how this IoT will be offered?
That's what I saying, that for the means your microcontroller board, it is very easy. Okay, you can have some, so even you can use the node MCU kind of module where you have a microcontroller and it can work as a sensor node. So that is possible, but still at the FPGA hand, how we can handle such kind of scenario, that still means I yet to figure it out.
Thank you, sir. I got the answers. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Yes.
Hello, sir. Thank you
Hello.
for telling us lot many different areas and lot many things. Actually, I come to know about lot different things. But sir, here I would like to know you tell us about hallucination, that schizophrenia, and the mental disorder. Now, sir, how we differentiate And what sensors are using for to develop that system?
Okay. So means we have used the EEG. Okay. So basically means EEG cap is available. Okay. Even means even if you are working on a database, then I think CHT database is there. Okay. Over there are databases are there on which you can still means for a mental disorder. We have not actually tried it out for a real patient. Okay. So whatever the application that I have explained, 3 applications. The third application is only there where I have not actually captured the signal from a real patient. If for the research purpose you are talking about, then there are database are there, EEG base. Okay, that EEG signal is being captured. Good thing is for the analysis point of view, when you observe a pattern for a different neurological disorder, your mental disorder, then EEG pattern is definitely varying when I am talking about depression, where I am talking about schizophrenia. Even we have tried it out the seizure and epilepsy also. So that EEG pattern you can easily differentiate. And since you are a different pattern, then whatever the feature that you are extracting, that feature set is good enough capable to differentiate the different mental disease. So for that, I think that database is strong enough where means you are having a good labeling. And for the research purpose, definitely, I think the database you can identify and where means the pattern is through ML. You can able to observe to comment about labeling of particular disease.
And sir, what type of controllers you are using to do all these operations, and while sending the data to the cloud? Like this is, we cannot, what security means, how we can, if you are saying that some patient is affected by hallucination or mental disorder, so that is, I think we need privacy there, that should not be known to others. So how it means you are using what controller and what security sort of things to do all this total system?
So for the privacy and security, to be honest, we haven't worked much apart from that first application, that glucometer. We haven't actually think about the security. Currently, actually, we are facing the challenging of the functionality itself for a real time. Okay, so we are more focused about that means that last problem that you are talking about, that schizophrenia and depression. How actually real time variable device could be adopted. Whatever the solution that I have provided, that variable cap, that is also just in a principle on paper, that is not being adapted by us also. Okay. Regarding the transmitting the data, so any data you want to transmit it, then currently the microcontroller are there where either you can have a means add-on module on a IoT, or there is a one popular microcontroller board, that is Node MCU, which we are using extensively to handle the data of sending the remote location.
Okay, sir.
So it is a very cheaper board. Node MCU ESP board is there. I think it is costing 400 to 500 rupees only. That you can use it, where you can easily transmit the data at a cloud. There is no problem with that.
Oh, sir, thank you, sir. Sir, you also tell us about that glucometers. So my doubt is, like we have RBC and in our blood. So sometimes they, when they clot, so now the sensor is having a limitation that if this is coming under this micron, then it will count, unless it will left. So how we ensure that whatever data that is giving us is actual? Means one, you also tell us about that we should consider that accuracy. It should
Yes.
be accurate.
Okay. So, of course, whatever the device that we are using or which we are developing as a self-care device, this all comes under the category of self-care device. Okay. All the self-care device that we are actually using or which are actually being developed, that is for a primary healthcare purpose. Okay. That actually should provide you the initial indication of whatever the disease which is going to be developed. Okay, of course, these are whatever the device which is being developed, they are not good enough to having a precision for a some sort of critical condition. Okay, so even means during my presentation, even I have also mentioned about that actually whatever the device that we have developed as a non-invasive glucometer, that also we are considering is a primary healthcare. This would actually help you that when you need to visit or consult a doctor, or maybe you need to go for a laboratory based test. Okay, so somehow that is the problem always will be there when you actually go for a non-invasive glucose measurement. Okay, so invasive in that sense, it stands out where the accuracy is comparatively good enough, but through which the recurrent measurement or frequent measurement is not possible. Okay, so again means as a user end that you need to use your intellectual, and then you need to decide that whether you want to adopt such kind of technology which actually give you the indication of the primary healthcare management, so that you can decide that when I need to go to a doctor or not.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, some other questions was there, I think, from online participant.
I am also saying that I think, okay, I
Sir,
think
there is-
recording, I think there is a difference. We will discuss that. Okay. I think recording, I think it would be provided. I think there is no harm with that.
Okay, okay, thank you, sir. Somebody was asking over mic.
Hello,
Yes. Yes,
sir.
Pratik.
Any particular database for this bio electrical and biophysical signals, EEG as well as ECG, for particular any random number, true random number or pseudo random number generation schematics?
I think database, I
Regarding
think you can easily read it now, right now. That is, I don't think so. There is a problem of the database right now. Okay, I think that CHB MIT database, I think that is there for all the such kind of disease. We are using that only. Okay, so I think the database availability is there. Of course, the amount of the database sometimes is a problem, because we are also actually currently working on a CVD problem, cardiovascular disease. Okay, where we are actually trying to find out the relation of the potassium with the CVD. But at that time, the database is there, but that is limited to only 15-20%. Okay, so sometimes it is issue. But to be honest, if you are talking about EEG, then for EEG based neurological disorder, there is no such limitation is there. You would definitely find out the database according to that. Now, if you have some specific requirement, then let me know. Means I will also possibly try to connect with some of my students who is actually working on it. But for a means EEG based any particular system development, we don't find out any issue with the database till now.
okay, sir. Okay. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Sir, any hardware database regarding Xilinx Spartan 3 or 6C Spartan for pseudo random number,
Hardware
random
database to
number?
kya means ultimately that database is from that particular signal, na? Not from the, I think there is no relation of how you are
Basically,
processing it.
design of
The
Xilinx
database,
IAC 9.2. Yes, sir. Database will be prepared on any query or basically VHDL language or Verilog HDL languages will be created
I
through.
think means database could be anything. The processing that you want to do it, handle it, it could be through a microcontroller where you can use C, C++, maybe Python, or maybe FPGA where you can write it down C, C++, or sorry, Verilog, VHDL, something like that. Okay. So I
Okay.
think there is no relation of the platform of having a database. It is just that means which basically platform you want to use. According to that, you need to identify which language you need to use. And that is for the processing of your algorithm or processing of your model.
Yes, sir. Sir, any cryptography for any encryption and decryption and like as a AES for NIST test suits as well as FIPS test suit for creating a database
Uh,
for
uh,
this procedure will be applied or not, which should I?
uh, Possibly means I have not worked on any cryptographic algorithm from means past few years. So I'm not exactly aware about it, but I think it should be there. I think NIST means it is having a very benchmark circuit, so I think it should be there. But unfortunately, I haven't worked about on this particular film for past few years. Okay, so possibly I'm not sure about that because whatever the security that I have touched upon, that is on hardware security where I have used a puff. Okay, not about that communication security that we have explored yet.
Yeah, sir, using a public cryptography, a private cryptography for physical unclonable function path regarding that for any particular private cryptography. Then for creating a database of private cryptography, this model for bioelectrical signals or biophysical signals will be applied, which you tell. I am asking to that. Which language will be particular code works? I am asking for using this
Uh,
procedure. You tell.
I am still not convinced and not sure about that. Means why you are worrying about the code? Okay, well, because means it is something like that. It should be reverse way that which platform you want to use. If you want to use the FPGA, then possibly there is no alternative. Maybe you can go for a VHDL Verilog, or maybe you can use the HLS platform through which the C++ can be converted into that. Okay, so possibly means my thinking says that you should think about the reverse way. Decide the platform and then think about that what could be the suitable language for that. Rather than deciding the language and then later on suit the platform according to that language. Because ultimately when we talk about any particular means solution, then possibly we want to think about that how cost effective and how it is more approachable to the user end. Okay, so in that perspective to possibly the platform has to be decided and then you can think about the coding. Now, to be honest that any of this algorithm, I haven't tried it out on FPGA much. Okay, so that's why possibly the Verilog VHDL support, I'm not sure, but possibly there has to be there. I think there is no problem to write down this such kind of code. But the only the question whether it is need or not, that you need to answer for that, for pertaining to your problem.
Yeah, sir. Last, sir, I think that CMOS inverter. Uh, this model will be compatible for prototype designing prototype CMOS inverter.
CMOS inverter, I think it is a technology, means whatever the means board that FPGA, that board that we are using, that is having a CMOS compatible technology only, that is having a CMOS inverter only.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Okay, I think, sir, it was a nice session. I think because they got many ideas. So I have just one query, Amit sir.
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
is
Yes.
the processor you used in that you are using like C-based coding, or are you using any RTOS type thing?
Actually, sir, means we have used the means initially for the iGlue model, whatever that we have worked it, that actually we have worked on a MATLAB only. Okay,
Okay.
where in a MATLAB basically we used to have a XLS file that we used to invoke it. Then possibly later on we have switched to a Python, so that basically more real-time kind of feeling that we can have. So basically microcontroller and whatever the board is there, that possibly they are supporting C, C++ and the Python. Okay, Raspberry Pi, and they are now having the support of the Python. So these languages I have used and I have implemented on that particular platform.
Yeah, if
Still,
you
I
use,
means any Altos that is not being means used by us in our any of the
yeah,
application.
as you are using Pi, so Pi is already having its own OS. So on that you are coding with Python. I got it, sir.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. So I thank Professor Amit Mahesh Joshi for his valuable 2 hours to us, which he and his team has taken lots of time to do research. And we are being connected at some point like SMDP or conferences or some organizing events. So we used to share ideas and also feelings. So anyway, thank you, sir, for coming and helping us out. This is quite a good session, and also it gone on to an interaction level also. So I feel our whatever participants are there, they got some idea and they might be inspired for doing some hardware based things. Like the summary is like we can do certain thing for societal application also, and where AI everybody is talking, that can be deployed in hardware. Okay. Thank you, sir. We'll meet sometime. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, AS Kanta sir and KK Mahapatra sir for inviting me and interacting with such a nice audience. And best wishes for your remaining part of the FDP. Thank you all of you. So I am just leaving now, sir. Is it
Sir,
okay?
thank you.
Okay. Okay.
So for participants, we are we had a session of Professor Sudeep Mishra, sir. One second. So